Hello guys and welcome back to the final episode of Double the Money. And you guys may be thinking, hang on a minute, aren't there 2 episodes left in the series for you to review? That is correct, and I will be doing both of them in this video. I felt it made more sense to do both of them in one video rather than split them up, because there's only 4 couples left. There's not as much to talk about, and I also felt like it was time to move on from this series and get on to other things as well. So without much further ado, let's get into the episode and let's start talking about these business opportunities, shall we? So this week was 4,000 to 8,000 within 3 weeks, and the first couple that we're going to be talking about who won the episode was Nat and Jack. Nat and Jack had an absolutely fantastic idea, and I think they've got a little bit of a leg up in the game when it comes to their actual jobs. They are pub landlords, and therefore it means that they can use their own space in order to hire it out for people to use and get money that way. I think it's definitely a very important factor in their sort of game plan. They used it in week 1 when they were doubling 250 into 500, and they've used it again here, and this could have been an absolute disaster if they hadn't had their own space. They decided to do a food festival in the back of their pub. Absolutely fantastic idea, first of all. This was potentially the best plan we've seen yet to create your own food festival. Not only are you getting punters in, spending money and buying things exactly as they planned, but they've also got food vendors coming in, paying them in order to set up their own stalls and sell their own money. But also, very, very smartly, they decided to come up with a token system. I say they, Natalie decided to come up with a token system, which essentially meant that they decided to have some form of currency going on at the event. So you paid for tokens to spend at the food stalls, and that just meant there was like a little micro economy going on, which was quite cool. I gotta say, they absolutely smashed it. Nat and Jack managed to make 9,523,000. No, 23,000? Oh my god. No, £9,523 from an initial investment of 4,000. And most of that went on the marketing for it. Getting the word out there, telling people to come along. And it looked vibrant, it looked fun, it looked like a really, really good time. So honestly, they absolutely smashed it, and I was really, really impressed. So next up we had Dale and Harvey. Dale and Harvey, their idea was a little bit but they managed to make it work somehow. They actually decided to buy liquidated stock in those sort of pallety things and then sell them on for a profit. I thought this was an interesting choice. I felt like this could have gone really, really badly wrong if they messed it up, if they got the wrong products. A lot of them were kind of mystery items, so they weren't really sure what they were getting, but they did do a good job. Unfortunately, Harvey had to do his job at the same time, which meant he was working nights, which meant that during the day whilst they were meant to be selling, he wasn't exactly compos mentis. He was just kind of like, I'm so exhausted and tired, I need to go home and sleep. I feel like these two have had the most trouble this entire series, and it always makes me chuckle, because I think actually these two, wonderful, wonderful people, but my god, they are always scraping by at the last minute. Some of the items that were on offer at their little store was hoverboards, hair removal devices. They had drones, they had dash cams, they had so many just random technology things. And I was like, okay, this could kind of work. They decided to set up a shop in the Bull Ring in Birmingham, which was interesting. Like, they actually had a shop space, but obviously it just looked like one of those really shitty stores that you look at and you go, oh, that looks like a little bit of a con. I don't like that. Yeah, it wasn't great. I was really worried for them. I didn't think they'd make the money, but once again, absolutely scraping by at the last minute. I was really surprised, and they managed to make £8,486 from an initial investment of £4,000. honestly, you gotta give credit where credit's due. They really did smash it, and yeah, I was impressed. Good on them. Next up, we have Radhika and Seema. Radhika and Seema decided to set up a social media platform specifically for women's wellness. It sounded like a really, really horrendous idea because they were planning on charging people, obviously charging people to sign up, but then they were they were wanting to charge the actual experts £250 in order to sign up and get themselves out there. And I was like, oof, that's a little bit steep. That's a little bit, icky, freaky. They took ages to get going. Like, I think we were a week in and they were just designing their logo, and I was like, how is this not done like day one or day two? I don't know the exact dates, but like it was just moving really slowly, and I was like, rah, this might not work out for them. But they decided to go talk to some wellness people and see if they would be interested in signing up, and for the most part people seemed really receptive to the idea. Maybe it's because I'm not in the wellness industry and I don't really understand it, but it seems like they had a lot of a better understanding than even I could give them credit for. So I was really impressed. Then they had like a little seminar with people that were interested in investing. I was impressed. I thought this was really good personally. I think they absolutely smashed it. They managed to make £8,360, which again was really impressive from an initial investment of 4,000. You think about it, creating a social media platform from scratch within 3 weeks is crazy already, and the fact that they managed to do it successfully and stay in the competition, even more impressive. I'm very impressed with that. So I gotta give them credit where credit is due. So the final pairing is Kath and Lynn, and you might be wondering, hang on a minute, everyone made the money so far. Did Kath and Lynn make the money? Of course they did. This is Kath and Lynn we're talking about. But Kath and Lynn did have a really, really tough time of it. Like a really tough time of it. I was really bricking it for them because I didn't think they were going to make it. They had not one, not two, but three different businesses in this episode that really just, oh my god, it was like pulling out all the stops. The first one was a party bus that went around Liverpool. They were aiming for, I think, 180 people across 3 trips, so 60 people on each. I think they managed to get 55 in total, so they were like a long way off of where they should have been. They ended up discounting the tickets for groups. It was just an utter nightmare. Was it a good experience? Probably, absolutely. But sales-wise, not very good, not strong at all. Their second plan, this was all to capitalise on the summer holidays being over and things starting up again. So they decided to throw a silent disco in the middle of a park for kids and adults, and I was like, oh god, because I feel like if they'd have done this for a university, easily made their money, easily. But children, I think the concept of a silent disco is lost on children. I think if I was that age or the age range that they were aiming for, I don't think I would want to go to a silent disco. I wouldn't get it. I'd be like, what? Whereas like now as an adult, I think a silent disco is quite cool actually. So I don't know. I feel like this was another big misfire from them. They ended up not making a lot of money again, and it just really seemed like they were on their way out. And then what did they decide to do? They just set up outside of school and were selling ice creams. Oh, it was so funny. It was so funny because thank God it was warm. Thank the heavens it was warm. Because I still don't know. I want to know the breakdown of how they made this money. Because they made £8,326 from an initial investment of 4,000. I want to know how they made that money. Because by all accounts, they should not have. Oh, it was so funny to watch. But they still did make it, which meant that by the end of episode 5, everyone was still in the competition, which leads us on to episode 6, which is where they had to turn 10,000 into 20,000 within 4 weeks. So, now that we're on the final episode, we are going to talk about them in ascending order, so from bottom to top. So the person that came, or the people that came in 4th place, were actually Seema and Radhika. This spun me. This spun my head purely because it really seemed like Radhika and Seema were doing the best out of everybody. And I still don't know what went wrong. Again, I want to see the breakdown of what happened with the money. What was spent? Where did they get their money? I want to know what was happening here. So they obviously had to turn 10,000 into 20,000. They ended up making 13,173. So they didn't make anywhere close to their 20,000 goal. Their idea was food bowls, wellness food bowls. I've noticed that their thing is very much to do with wellness and using things to make you better, things like that. I think it if you enjoy that kind of stuff, sure, go for it. The food bowls looked beautiful. They looked gorgeous. They went to like a proper food testing place. They made their recipes, perfected the recipes. Then they went to like some big fancy like shop in London and sold their bowls there, which I thought was really good. Then they went to Just Eat, and Just Eat were like, yeah, sure, we'll sell your bowls. Nice, wonderful. But yet they only made £3,173 profit. So I don't know what went wrong here. I don't know. I thought this was a surefire way to succeed. I wonder whether the costs of all of that kind of stuff was just too much, and therefore when they actually came to making profit, they had to make up a substantial loss first before they could start making a profit. I don't know. Maybe something else has happened, but it is what it is. Really, really good attempt from them. I've been impressed with them this whole competition. They've come up with cool, unique ways of making money, and I gotta say, they've walked away with 15,000 odd pounds worth of money, because obviously you get to keep all the profit that you make from your 2,000 whatever investment, your 250 investment. Yeah, the fact that they made 15k, incredible. Big claps. Very, very well done. In 3rd place, we had Kath and Lynn. I didn't expect Kath and Lynn to come 3rd. I felt their plan was weak for the finale. They have had some strong, solid plans throughout this competition. Some really, really good ones. The talent show in week 4, I think it was perfection. That was genuinely the moment that I was like, okay, they'll definitely make it to the final. They have to, surely. They decided to do a pizza making business, just selling pizza. They made 14,166. Again, I feel like the cost of running this really meant that they had to make up a lot more money in order to get them to profit. But it just seemed like things weren't going their way. Their van got stuck in the mud when they were trying to go to a fun run in order to sell their pizzas there. During the lunchtime rush, their pizza oven ran out of gas, so the fire went off. It was just a bit chaotic and nightmarish. They did start selling it by the slice, which I thought was actually quite smart. I don't know whether I would have paid £3 for a slice of pizza, though. That is a little bit steep. But still, they made good on their investment, and they've walked away from the show with £19,970 profit. So almost 20 grand profit from this show. That is incredible, and honestly, they've been incredible throughout the show, and I was really impressed with them. So yeah, big claps, well done. So 2nd place was Dale and Harvey. Of course it was Dale and Harvey. Of course Natalie and Jack were going to win this, but we'll get onto them in a little bit. Dale and Harvey, I don't know what possessed them, or what possessed Dale, let's be honest, because Harvey had no say in this. I don't know what possessed Dale to decide to buy used cars, do them up, and sell them. Because we saw how that turned out for Nissi and Ben in week 3. 4. Yeah, week 4. Didn't go very well for them. Admittedly, they just weren't actually competing at that point. They had to leave the country. But it's still, it doesn't look like a good business opportunity. Secondly, they did not learn from their earlier mistake of setting up on an industrial estate on the outskirts of a city, of the outskirts of Telford. I have never heard of Telford in my life before this show. Never. So I don't know how much business you're going to be getting from a used car sale lot there. I gotta say, and I'll be 100% honest, they made a lot of money. They were the ones that actually spoke about how much they'd spent, and obviously we can work out how much they earned. They spent $7,500 out of their 10 grand on the cars, the motorbikes, the carpets. I don't actually know what they were buying at this point, but on everything that they bought and redid. $7,500. That left them with $2,500. They ended up with £16,308. They made almost £14,000 from this, which is insane. I will say this: they did not sell a single car until like a week before the deadline, which was embarrassing. Harvey lost his job because he wasn't turning up for this show. So much was going on here, and it was too much. It was actually incredibly crazy how much was going wrong here. But also, you gotta hand it to them for sticking it out, and they were always having that fearless optimism. They did walk away from the show with £17,671 profit from the whole show, which £17,500 is not bad by any stretch of the imagination. I'd take that 100%. So yeah, really, really impressed. I think this is great. And obviously, let's move on to Nat and Jack. Nat and Jack have been the strongest in this competition for a good few weeks. If you look back at their track record, they were first last week. They were third, second. I think they came first at one point. I think they came first week 2, which was incredibly crazy. First in the second week. And they came second or third. Oh no, I think they came third in week 1. So they've always done consistently well. They've always done incredibly well. This was no different. This was an incredibly bold move from them. They made their own coffee brand. I was like, huh? They made and distributed their own coffee within a month. They built a business selling packaged coffee beans in a month. I was blown away. I think every single week they've had an idea that's made me go, huh, that's actually really ingenious, kind of. Apart from like the quiz in like episode 1. That was a bit like, oh, okay, fair enough. You're warming up here. You're warming up. But yeah, it's just outstanding how they managed this. How they've managed to do this. Not only did they make more than the 20,000, being the only pair to make over 20,000, but they made £24,141. Huh? So let's just run through some of the things they had trouble with, or some of the things they succeeded at. They were struggling with the packaging, but they managed to sort that out, which was good. They really, really went into the social media side of advertising, which was really ingenious, really cool. Then they went to a big distribution company and was like, yo, distribute us. And they went, yeah, sure. And they went, please, for 10 grand. And they went, yeah, sure, as long as you do XYZ. They got 10 grand just without even trying. Even if they hadn't spent any money, they'd have made the 20 grand just from that sale. Words cannot explain how impressed I was. They managed to make £29,000 profit, plus the 20k they get for winning the show means they were brought up to like 49,000 odd pounds, which is crazy. So big claps to Nat and Jack. Very, very well done. But that is all we have for this series. I'm kind of gutted it's over. I really enjoyed this show, and I hope you guys did too. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, doing all them YouTube things that you guys do so well, and I will see you guys later. Keep on ranting. Bye now.